All right, the recording is up. We are recording session number 10, which is actually the 11th session because we start counting at 0. That's okay. Nothing important. Sorry about that. I live in a city. But nothing important happens during session 0. So this is the 10th important session. Speaking of important things happening, who would like to recount what happened last session?
I'm actually a little hazy myself, although I did take notes.
It's going to be a difficult recollection there.
I think, did we start off at the Spirit Callers? That's where we started off?
Go for it, Tice.
I remember I still haven't seen Troy, and my vague recollection is that I still haven't seen Troy. I'm pretty sure Tice tried to cook and or brew something. Miles shit talked a ghost. And I was channeling Leonard J. Krabs in some sort of legal battle.
Actually, I think Kite's character was the most visible last session. Out of all 9 sessions, I think that was the most he had been seen. I think he was out in the open during the whole Spirit Caller scene.
He was definitely out in the open at the palace that you guys went to.
But not with not with all party members.
And once we got to the palace, there was a whole weird sequence of events where it turned out that what was his name? Hypo's old companion, I believe his name was Nevo. Essentially, I kind of jumped into his mind and found out he was containing some weird, demonic, dark, powerful entity. And for kind of intruding into his mind without permission, I think I got us kicked out of the city.
At least the palace.
Not everyone, just you. And not really out of the city, just out of the palace.
We also did find some information from the Spirit Caller because they were able to tap into that legendary hero to where we found the mostly exact location, sort of the shield. It was in the palace
I really don't like doing it
library.
Because
And Troy also found out about a means of transporting to the capital. He learned that there is a wizard named Palmeku who has a magical flying carriage that nobody trusts. They all think it's a death trap that'll fall out of the sky.
A crazy wizard.
Also, I think Marlo's character found out that basically the Emperor is basically Sauron, and he is the all-seeing eye. That's when we found out also that he didn't want to have two. What's Kite's character's name again?
Draven.
Yeah, we didn't want 2 Dravens in the party. That's why he left the ghost.
super hot.
Yeah, that's a pretty good summary. You found out that there's a demon trapped in the Lord of Jaipur's mind. And you found out that actually in your Leonard J. Krabs moment there, Nirgui found out that the local prosecutor is very interested in the drug goings-ons of Moon in the Rain. And she really wants to try and nail him on that. And it looks like Leaves in the River was being used as a quasi-unwilling drug mule to transport a drug that gets indentured servants addicted so that they want to continue their indentured. I'm gonna close this window just a second. All right, that's moderately better. There's a drug that they were peddling to try and get people basically hooked on it so that they'd remain in their servitude to get more of the drug. So it's a pretty nasty thing they're trying to crack down on. These are not necessarily people, of course, who are opposed to the program that enables servitude, effectively slavery, in your view. They're not opposed to that program. What they're opposed to is the use of narcotics to extend it. Of course, Lees in the River was going along with this narcotics transport to raise money to get the expensive poison she had intended to use on her master. That poison is no longer necessary, but she's still quite intent on wanting somebody to kill him at some point. And I think you promised to take care of that. Yeah, more or less. Having now left, the lawyer who was representing the general has taken off, having gotten the briefing from you and basically understanding the merits of that particular case. So he's going to do his pretrial preparations. But the imperial magistrate, Sis Jew, turns to you and says just directly to you, says, I want to get him to agree to a plea deal. I want him to testify against Moon in the River, but there is a problem. The problem is that this lawyer, Take Hamvor, is Moon in the River's lawyer. And he's never going to advise the general to take a plea deal that includes testifying against Moon in the River. Are you up to a little subterfuge?
And this is the super fancy lawyer talking to me about this, right?
It is. And it makes sense that she'd want to turn to you in this, because anywhere she goes, she's going to draw attention. She is a well-known figure, and so her presence going into like a warehouse to try and check on things is going to immediately draw attention. There'll be crowds.
I say, well, and I look a bit nervous, and then say, I don't want to do anything illegal. Like I am studying for my scholarly exams. It's like, but I can do a little bit of subterfuge. And I say, one time I bought chestnuts from an unauthorized dealer.
She smiles. You're pretty sure her smile is a weapon that she is half unsheathed for you to see, and that if fully unsheathed could cut you. But nevertheless, she does smile at your comment. She says, you should not do anything illegal, for it would jeopardize our case, of course.
I say, I take a deep sigh, and I say, oh, good. I'm just a practicing scholar, so I'm all very new to this.
However, the omission of your identity when asking questions is not illegal. And thus it is that you may interview persons of interest and perhaps visually interview the abodes in which they reside and the materials in which they associate themselves for business purposes, and find out, if you can for me, exactly what the relationship is between Moon in the River and the general Lord Takekamis. Because if they are in a financial relationship, we might be able to nail them both for the crimes of both. But if they're not in too deep, what we need to do is find a way to get Takagamis to agree to a new lawyer or new representation so that we can float the idea of a plea bargain for him to testify against Moon in the Rain.
I say, I can do this. Before I leave, though, I think there is important information that you may wish to know. It may be of use. Our client, Leaves on the River, or whatever her name is, has informed me in confidence that she was pressed into service as a runner for an illegal drug operation out of the house of the general. She's told me that a package that she was intended or was supposed to deliver has not been delivered, and is somewhat concerned about this given the nature of the kinds of people that accept such packages. I've told her not to worry. She's in a government safe house and everything should be fine. But that's something that you may wish to know. She's also told me that the package that she was supposed to deliver is still in the general's house and has given me its location.
That is excellent news, as that would enable me to acquire a warrant and have the house searched.
What I don't know is whether the general is aware of the location. So she would get the packages, stash them away, and then take them where they're supposed to go as a runner. She'll testify to this. That said, whether the general knows or doesn't know, the general may not know that the package is still in the premises. I don't want to say too much about it because if he were to be informed that there was such a package, he may turn the place upside down to find it and remove the evidence.
I have a plan. There are foreigners recently visiting our city, and I believe that their interests may be something that we can come to an arrangement with. Some kind of deal can be made. I could deputize them to perform a targeted retrieval, not of the entirety of the package, but of a portion of it for testing purposes. Because we were retrieving it for testing purposes, we can't retrieve the entire amount. It would be wrong to do so. However, it does mean that there would be some amount still there in the event that we did perform an arrest and raid.
I could speak with them. I'm sure that they would be happy to be given more honor. I should say that deputizing is probably not a word that they care for. You should say that there is a thing that must be done. It must be done with great care, and that only great heroes can do such a thing. And you should tell them that actually it might just be best to just give me the power to deputize them and or give me whatever badges or documents you need to speak with them about it. They're a funny lot, I say.
She pulls out what looks like a stack of pre-written and pre-filled out deputization forms, pins your name onto one of them, takes a rubber stamp out of her one of her pockets, stamps it and hands it to you and says, "Congratulations, Deputy. I hereby authorize you to recruit mercenary assistants."
I will do so. And I stand up and give her a bow and head out of the room back towards... I'm looking for the one that I know is there, but have never actually seen before. I feel like that person might actually, whoever that is, might actually be useful in this particular situation.
You do encounter, at the very least, you encounter Heldren being politely shown where the door is. You're not being violently thrown out or anything. They are still honoring you as a hero, but they're politely asking you to please, at the very least, leave the palace, because they don't want you to set a demon free. Whether or not Draven is visible in that room might be up to Draven.
I'm mainly looking for not Callista at this point. That's kind of
I'm walking with Heldren because I need to see where he's going after getting thrown out, essentially.
Okay, so yeah, it's a bright lit place. I don't think stealth is something you're necessarily doing, unless you're wielding magic to do it. So, yeah, Heldren and a guy that kind of looks familiar. Like maybe you've seen him walk down a stairway once. Or they're proceeding out away from the private meeting room that the Lord of Jaipur is in.
It's crazy how I hide with this rather large rocky sheath. I feel like that should stand out, like there's just this floating thing around all the time.
Yeah, there is a suspiciously large package strapped to his back.
All right, so I head out there and I'm just like, I'm looking for the great heroes to help me with a heroic task. I hold the papers above my head like an exclamation point and say, I have a quest.
Well,
I just look at Heldred.
sure. What the hell? We got some heroes.
Where are the heroes?
Galista is back with the spirit speakers, very specifically guarding the door to the chamber where Leaves on the River is. She's taken it as her sacred duty to keep Leaves on the River safe from everyone, even though she's probably in the safest place in the entirety of the Empire right now. Galista, however, is incredibly happy with finally finding the person that she had sworn to protect. So she's doing that, and she's quite pleased. As for the others, Sinlan is with the bard Radico. Radico is in sessions basically trying to deprogram the other Faythen'oc hero you encountered, who had somehow gotten culturally switched over into Imperial culture from Faythen'oc culture.
Yeah, can't abide by that. Horgat the Mighty. Yeah, so I'll just kind of say to these guys, yeah. So did you sense that Nevo is has a demon in his mind? He's trying to hold it back, but I'm skeptical.
Are you talking to me?
I guess I'm talking to both of you.
There was definitely something there, but he seems to be well covered for it. Hinting at the guards that I got to watch multiple times stand at the ready. So we're essentially just out the gates with head addressing us. Is that what happened?
Yeah, you're out by the fountain in front of the palace at this point. Interestingly, I'm not sure exactly where Ikoma is.
Yeah, I don't remember. He was trying to get into the kitchens. I remember that, and then they weren't letting him. And I don't remember what he did after that.
So let's switch over to Ikoma Masashi. Where are you? Yeah, I know you went to the palace. Are you still in the palace?
Well, everyone else seems to be doing everything super important. So I decided to, since I was not allowed in the kitchens of the palace, I decided to go back out into the outside into the areas where there's facility, like restaurants and other places I can find work.
Okay, awesome. Make a resources check and add a quality ingredient equal to your number of successes.
So you said a resource check and what?
Yeah, however many successes you get, that's the quality of the ingredient you manage to get through your hard work. Either that or bartering or other other means, you find a really nice ingredient. And then you can do whatever you want with it.
I guess trade. Could I use trade and everything?
If you have a talent that enables you to manipulate your trade in that way.
Okay.
I don't remember what it's called, but there is one where you like add your trade to resource rolls.
Looks like Uther went to sleep again.
God damn it, Uther.
While we're waiting for that, I guess while you were in the palace, you did notice it did have a lot of lovely artwork. One of the things that's kind of neat about this palace, and it's different from the other one, is that a lot of the artwork in this palace was about the local merchants. So within the palace, you saw lots of paintings of local like restaurateurs, chefs, and other kinds of merchants too, blacksmiths and other things. But it was very informative, and so you have a really good idea of where to go for the chefs that like impressed the ruler of the province so much that he had a portrait commissioned of them to put on the walls of his palace.
Yes, of course. I would definitely love to meet those guys and trade stories and like recipes.
I keep thinking, oh, cool, that's another thing I should have you make a roll for, and then I remember. It's fine. He'll be up and running soon. I'm gonna let the cat out.
I'll be back in a sec.
All right, so I guess while we're waiting on that, for those of you out in the courtyard, or out in the at the fountain in front of the palace.
All right, he's up.
Cool. When Tice gets back, we'll take care of that. What would you guys like to do? Or did you just want to discuss?
Yes, I'll say, yes, I suppose at this point, we know what our target is. We have to seek out the shield. We now know where the shield is. We have papers that allow us to move freely through the Empire. I suppose we should finish whatever our business is here and go and start plotting how exactly we're gonna bust into the library and get this shield when, by all accounts, the Emperor has some strange powers that I don't think we've yet fully accounted for, if this ghost is to be believed.
Do we need this ghost?
The ghost did not. The ghost had no interest in helping us in pursuing our goals, and seemed to be of the belief that I couldn't be rid of him if I wanted to. So, I think whatever happens to the ghost, it sounds like is just going to happen one way or another, and that he probably will, or presumably will, not be of any service to our plot in any way that we can control. Although if we could certainly attempt to trap him again and put him to some more rigorous questioning, if you think that would help.
I mean, you said you couldn't be rid of him. Do we need to really trap him?
I'm thinking more so that so that others could interact with him if you were so inclined. But yeah, it seems like no matter what we do, well, I'll be seeing him again. By any chance, were you able to translate any meaning out of those symbols that I recorded? He seemed to think that those were important to something. He led me to them for a reason.
I can't remember if you ever actually rolled for that.
I haven't had any time, I don't think. I'm fairly certain we did it on the way, and then we were at the steps, and then event after event. So I have not had a moment, but
fair enough.
Let you know.
I'd say that should probably be pretty high on our list of priorities. I think there may be useful information there that can actually help us. The ghost seemed to believe there would be. He felt the need to direct me to it. So that may be our best lead for now, unless I'm missing something.
I'm still jumping around in the background with the papers above my head.
Have you mentioned, Draven, that you know of a way of rapidly transporting to the capital?
I don't think I have yet, because we haven't talked about actually leaving yet. I was waiting until that point. I'll keep glancing at this dancing person with papers above his head and say, Heldren, I believe the heroes appear to be busy. Should we help him?
Yes, I suppose we can be the heroes.
Excellent. You're exactly the heroes that I need. Our indentured servant, who we're trying to free at the moment, which is kind of my task here, has informed me. Actually, has informed me a lot of things, but the important one is that it seems that her master was involved in some illegal drug running. This is some insidious stuff. This is a drug that makes you more indentured, I guess. They give it to servants so that the servants can't leave. It's basically a loophole around just making slaves. In any case, she's informed me that she was running packages for her master, and one of those packages is currently in his house. She's told me it's under the floorboards in her domicile. Of course, we can't let him know or stomp in there with a warrant, because he'll just turn the place upside down, find it, and remove the evidence. So we need a sample from the package.
So you need stealth.
You need the whole package?
No, we can't take the whole package, just a sample for it, so that we have proof that it was there. And I am authorized, I wave the piece of paper, to deputize people as heroes to go in and do this task, but it should be done extraordinarily discreetly. If it is in your interest, I may also be able to acquire a large stockpile of these drugs and potentially some of the laboratory equipment used to manufacture them, and that could also be placed, say, in his basement or something. That's another option. Just putting it out there, if that's something that we're interested in doing.
So we have it on good authority. This man is guilty. Yeah,
we know that the man is guilty, but the law is in our way. So we can kill the man, but that wouldn't help our person become free. It wouldn't help anyone. But we could highlight his guilt.
So you're saying the man needs to be alive while getting the sample?
Correct.
So you're saying that the facts are established, but you need to tell a better story.
The facts are established, but facts can be deleted. We need to make the facts undeletable. Otherwise, the story will never be told.
Good. I like this. I believe you have the right man for the job right here. And I'll point to Draven.
We know the story that this man is in, and we know the role that he plays. We just need to make sure that that's the role that he gets written in as, and not as a hero. Because at the moment, he has relatively good legal representation, and he could very well come out as the hero in this story. and not as the slave-owning drug lord.
So we just need to plant a ton of evidence. Cool.
And also retrieve some of the evidence that he has.
Sure. I think this sounds like a worthwhile endeavor. I'll turn to Draven and say, what do you think? Do you think this is something we should do?
I think we should be off to head to the Empire castle. What is it? Palace? Emperor's Palace. That being said, we are already here. Simply taking something from a house shouldn't be that difficult. Do you know where it is? You mentioned floorboards.
It's in the floorboards of the. She told us that it's in the floorboards of the room that she currently resides in, that she used to reside in her quarters.
Which means it's at that manor house on the hill that you guys were at briefly.
And you're permitted to be improvise if you need. I can get the equipment, but this is a story that we need to make sure doesn't turn that family. They need to go down, basically. Like, we have relatively strong facts established, and general proof that he used her as a drug runner, that he's involved in this drug trade and profiting from the enslavement of indentured servants. And we don't like indentured servants in general, and we certainly don't like drugged up slave indentured servants. That his wife killed her baby, and that he impregnated her against her will. So all of these things, for me, indicate that we need to make sure this guy's story gets told the right way. And I'm willing to assist in any way.
And just to be clear, just kind of out of character for a second, this guy is Takagamas?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, I'll say, and we do have Leaves in the River and Horgat the Mighty at our disposal, right? I mean, I assume we could question them about the specifics of this and really kind of nail down.
Absolutely.
The fastest and most reliable way to get this job done.
Yes, both of them are back with the Spirit Speakers. Yep.
Okay, yeah, I suppose we do. I could take some time to write the story of Takagamas the Wicked.
Yes,
we get that passed out. You know, we could turn the, a well-told story kind of supplants the technical facts of the matter, anyways, given enough time. So, if we plant enough evidence to handle the legal side of things, then we win over the hearts and minds with a good story. That seems like justice will prevail here.
I am pleased with this direction. I will assist in any way possible. I'm going to go speak to my contact and see if I can't acquire us some illicit goods. And I go try to contact one of the angry Opal Path guys, right?
Oh yeah, Snow on the Branches. Absolutely.
And was I there when Draven essentially said he'd kill Takagamas?
When I what?
Didn't you tell somebody that you would kill Takagamas? Or shit, was that me?
I think
you asked us to kill him.
Oh, okay. So,
I also asked if we should not kill him.
Leaves on the Branches.
I say I am not against this man's death, and as a matter of fact, that kind of is part of that has crossed my mind several times. That said, my only requirement for this particular situation is that he cannot be harmed until Leaves on the River is exonerated, set free, and reparations are paid. Otherwise, that entire matter will be closed. So that needs to happen first before any harm comes to him. And as a secondary thing, and this is mostly for me, he needs to know that he's been defeated first.
Okay, I have no objection to any of this, but then again, I'm not the person who would be sneaking into his estate and planting the evidence. So I suppose I'm not the person that needs to be convinced.
The story of a rich person framed for some sort of a thing, and then executed in dying due to suspicious means is too much. Whereas the story of a rich person convicted of terrible crimes that then ends up dead. I mean, stuff happens.
I think what I'm saying, Kitten, is that sometimes shit happens, somebody's got to deal with it, and who are you going to call? Tice, are you back?
I am.
All right. Uther is up and running. Is those your 3 successes there?
Yes.
Most excellent. So you acquire a quality 3, whatever it is that you would like. You may also, in conversing, you can go ahead and make any kind of social roll, depending on how you want to converse with the various merchants.
Yeah, I'll also be increasing that to quality 4 with quality ingredients.
Nice.
Some nice steak.
Ooh, going for a food route. Branching out, it's not all tea anymore. Unless you're making a steak-flavored tea, at which point I highly approve.
Yeah, let's see here. I know I'll be using my empathy on this.
If you're telling them tales of food you've cooked, that might be performance. If you're trying to convince them to reveal their secret recipes, that would be persuasion. If you just want to talk about, if you just want to be polite, like absolute polite, you could just roll propriety. Yeah. Lots of options.
I can go the persuasion route. I'm also willing to share my recipes that I've come across while going through my travels as well as counter offer.
So you're targeting. You'll get a number of recipes equal to the number of successes, with a special bonus if you get 4 successes. Are you triggering some talents there by taxing?
Yes, I am. I'm triggering. I'm triggering omniscience for this, as well as I don't think I have anything else right now that can use 2 attacks.
Okay. That gives you the threshold bonus, right?
Yeah. I got exactly 4 successes.
Nice.
Unless if my politeness thing triggered as well, then I would lower the threshold and I would get 5.
You mean your respectful trait?
Yes.
I can't imagine you being disrespectful, but I'm not sure that this is a... Yeah, sure. Why not? So you get a collection of recipes. These are very interesting local recipes. But the fourth one that he gives you is of particular interest because you recognize it as one of your own. One that you thought was a secret. It's way too detailed and accurate to be a coincidence. This is definitely your recipe that this guy has gotten somehow. He also does not seem to know that at all. He's showing it with pride. He's like, this is really delicious.
I see. Are these all your creations, or have you also been collecting recipes?
He says, oh no, I collect and trade with chefs and tea makers all throughout the land. This particular brew of tea is one of my favorites. I make it for my family at least once a week. The ingredients are not easy to come by, but my goodness, is it worth it. I have the paper written down from the man I traded with. It was many years ago.
Many years ago?
Decades, at least. He starts rummaging through a trunk and eventually comes out with a scroll. It's ancient, faded. It looks like it was really well treated initially, like the kind of thing that should last for a century, but just continuous opening and reading and usage has started to wear it down. But you can vaguely make out on it pretty precisely your recipe as he quoted it to you. And a little doodle at the top margin of 4 figures.
Of what?
4 little, stick figures, like people, kind of. It's really primitive.
Huh. That is really interesting. I heard not long ago. I made this exact recipe myself.
Says, oh, that's amazing. Well, then you already know how delicious it is.
It's good that there are other chefs around and cooks around here, tea makers around here that have the same quality as. It's always good to refreshing to find people of high quality.
Indeed it is. And then he digs up a 5th recipe. Says, oh, that reminds me, you should try this one as well. And you get a 5th recipe. These recipes in your inventory, just treat them as basically one-use items that will just give you some extra pips. I'll say each one is like a 3-pip item. They're consumables. Just the first time you try them, they'll help you out a little bit. After that, it just becomes your normal skill again.
Even the one that sort of looks like my recipe?
No, that one you already know.
Okay.
So in total, you got 4 new recipes. But that one was special because it revealed something to you that you did not know, which has nothing to do with cooking. Meanwhile, in the plaza, have you guys decided where you're going?
I am going to see my contact.
Okay.
Did we need more information? Were we waiting to find out where this person's room was and stuff like that, or do we need to take stuff into the house, or do we need to get this sample first?
If you can get in and get out with the sample without any suspicion, then that can be done concurrently. I need to acquire some stuff. We're going to plant things. If you need to contact Leaf on the river, she is in the safe house with the spirit speakers, and she knows you. So she should be fine to discuss any sort of any things that you have, and I'm sure she would also assist. I should warn you, or at least inform you, that she does actually want this man dead. Like dead, murdered in a horrible fashion. We could potentially make that happen for her, or maybe he'll just kill himself. Who knows? It doesn't really matter. But at the end of the day, she's pretty upset at this guy for completely reasonable reasons, I think. But it's best not to put her in the same room with him because she might actually kill him, in which case she'll be free, but a free murderer. So we're going to try and avoid that situation if at all possible.
So are you guys going to go to the spirit speaker's place to find information about like where to look, where her room is, stuff like that?
I mean, I think that makes most sense. I think heading back
Yeah,
to
I
the
want
lodge
that information.
is just kind of like a staging ground for whatever we end up doing is probably the
Okay.
sense. Yeah.
So you guys head there, and Nergui, you head out of the city and to that little orchard where your friend Snow in the Branches is plotting his next ne'er-do-well plot.
Hey, friend, how are you?
He greets you, brings you inside, and says, Nergui, you want in on the action tonight?
Depends on what you're doing. Probably not, but I'll just give you that. I have interesting business afoot and potentially a business opportunity for you if you're interested.
Says, well, I mean, I was planning a little midnight raid, some snatch and grab, but what have you got going on?
How well do you know this? What is it? Takigawa? Tashigawa?
Takikamas is
Takikamas.
Yeah.
How well do you know this Takikamas guy? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you like this Takikamas guy?
Dude's a complete asshole. He fucked up his entire life, and yet still he's running a plantation with slaves. Gotta go.
All right. Well, we have an opportunity to make him go down hard.
Ooh, I like this.
But it may involve a little bit of activity which is not exactly above board. And then I just kind of shrug and I say, "So I've come to talk to you."
You've come to the right place.
We know that he's involved in this drug running operation, running this new drug that's used to basically it's basically used to cause pretty severe addiction in servants, effectively just making them pure slaves. Even when their servitude's over, they still kind of have to stay or they'll die from withdrawal.
We've heard about this. We've heard about it. There's always been sort of a mild version in use, but lately a really strong version has entered circulation. Something about it hits people really hard, messes with their heads. We've tried getting a few people off of it and have not had a lot of success.
Well, he's running it. And he's actually having his servants do it for him, which is the first mistake.
Now, here's just an interesting point. You know that it's actually Moon in the Rain, Moon in the Rain, who is the drug lord that they're trying to bring down, and Takikamas.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, but you're telling him something different.
Doesn't matter.
No, you're allowed to tell him whatever you want. I just want to make sure you know what's going on.
He's running it, or at least his servants are running it, and he's allowing it. We don't know what his involvement is, but we know that he is involved pretty heavily with people that are deeply involved with this trade, profiting from it, in fact. So the question I have, and maybe you know the answer to it off the top of your head, is where's this shit coming from? If you have a good answer for that, maybe we can go deal with those guys. If not, we have an opportunity to potentially make it come from him.
Well, the mild stuff always came from Moon on the Rain, so I always assumed the heavier stuff was coming through that channel too.
You want to hear some crazy shit? I mean, it's going to make you really mad. but
he grips the table, ready to be mad.
So Moon in the Rain is this guy's lawyer. Kind of.
Moon in the Rain's lawyer is this guy's lawyer.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah. They're all in bed together. Okay, so basically the lawyer there's one lawyer that's basically serving both of them. This guy's a crook. He's a criminal. We can probably squeeze the lawyer pretty hard, but in order to get Leaves in the River kind of free and clear, we've got to walk carefully. She needs to. It's like my primary concern is to get her free and clear of the situation, and then we can make things bad for this entire group.
All right, you get her to a safe house. I'll go squeeze the lawyer's head till it pops.
But we need a lawyer. The different plan that we have right now is to basically, at the moment, my colleagues are investigating the guy's house in a discreet fashion. We're going to get evidence that he has drugs in the house. The hope is either he's going to fess up or basically be pushed in. Basically, what we want is all these guys at each other's throats. If he knows about the drug trade and he's really in on it, then he's going to band together with his buddies. If he doesn't, he's probably going to be really pissed off at basically other people who he's associated with basically pulling him into this. Regardless, we're going to make sure that he gets pulled into it pretty hard. So there's a consideration that if we could acquire some of this drug in a reasonable volume, and maybe some of the materials used to manufacture it, we can basically put it wherever we want. And there happens to be a pretty powerful scholar from the Imperial Court out here currently on the case, and she's looking for a reason to nail all these guys to the wall.
He kind of squints his eyes a little. You think some of the stuff you've said is a little complex for him. He mostly became the leader here by being the guy who survived the most fights, not necessarily being the guy who's good at leadership.
I shake my head and I say, some rats have plague and some don't.
Yeah.
When you're on a ship?
I've heard about them.
Yeah, so
you're pretty far inland. He may never have actually been on a ship.
Let's say you're in a cellar. If you're in a cellar and the cellar starts to flood,
yeah,
you can't really tell the plague rats and the non-plague rats. They're all just rats.
You're saying that all these guys are rats and we should step on them.
All these guys are rats. They're all rats. It's not really clear which one's the bad one, so we're going to flood the whole place, flush them all out, and let them kill each other. And then the ones that get out, we'll light them on fire when they get out of the cellar.
So he kind of scratches his head a little and says, so you need us to redirect the river to flood something.
What I need from you is I need some drugs.
Oh, you mean like a raid?
Yeah.
He looks down at the battle plan he had laid out on the table for his raid, and he just scratches off one target and puts a circle on another. All right, we'll take care of that.
Whoever's manufacturing this super strong stuff, we just need a big sample of it. We need to take it from them. If it's possible, it'd be nice if it looked like basically turf warfare between two gangs. But you know what you're doing.
Oh, yeah. There'll be lots of bloody knuckles, maybe a few slit throats, but we'll get you your stuff.
Sounds good. And I hold up a piece of paper and I say, I may be able to repay you in paperwork, I say.
He looks at you, just kind of goes, get that shit out of my face. You know I don't want anything to do with that government.
Fair, but sometimes it's useful to have a bit of bona fide papers. Get you places that you don't belong.
He starts going off on what you're pretty sure is just a memorized rant about how the government is complicit in the slave trade, and so anything they do to try and help a slave is just also legitimizing the legality of slavery. And yeah, he's off on his rant. It'll be a while before he comes off it.
All right, I just wait him out, and then I say, pat him on the shoulder, and I say, "Get me those drugs. We'll take this guy down."
All right, boys. Plan's a little different. Instead of robbing the money, we're robbing the drugs. Well, one of the person says, is the location the same? Says, yes, it is.
Classic.
Meanwhile, at the Spirit Speaker Hall, you guys enter. One of the Spirit Speaker acolytes immediately takes you over to their head Spirit Speaker lady, who says, I have some news for you. We've heard from our agents in the Haipo province. Apparently, long before our agents ever got near the place, a letter was delivered to the Lord of Haipo by a returning group of cavalrymen. Upon reading the letter, he retreated into his inner chambers and has not been accessible since.
And I don't suppose anyone would have any idea who sent that letter or what it says? Or no, not who sent it, but what it says.
No, he took it with him. They are sensing death energies within. This might be people dying, or it might be him trying to use some of our magics. We're not sure. But he has guards posted, and until our contingent of combat personnel arrive, I don't want our agents to compromise themselves. There's only 2 of them. They're not super powerful.
So death energies, you say?
Yes. This could be energy released from somebody being killed. But the only people that are in there are his family. So our current suspicion is that he's found some other artifact to try and deal with the corruption that was placed on his body.
And that it would involve sacrificing his family?
Gods, I hope not. Technically, I know how to do that if it came to it, but I would never. And he has no training in that art. I don't think he would do that. But we are concerned about the direction his madness is taking him.
And when I was in Nevo Bakasha's mind, was that death energy? Was I basically sensing death energy in there? No, okay. So
No,
these would be 2
all.
fundamentally unrelated things. All right.
Even the demon that you sensed in there was not using death energy. That demon, you're not sure really what death energy would even smell or taste like from a psychic perspective. But the demon was totally an astral entity, absolutely within your domain. Probably a great deal stronger than you, but definitely within your domain of expertise. Says, oh, and as a side note, I did interview that captured ghost of yours. That man is one lying bastard. He tried to convince me he was a simple farmer.
Well, he had to try. Did he have anything useful to say?
No. He's still in that cage. I've decided to leave it up until he chooses to be honest with me.
Huh. Maybe, I assume Draven's with me, right?
Somewhat.
Yeah, so I'll turn to Draven and I'll say, I think he's one of your types, you know. If you're interested in kind of picking his mind and seeing what seeing what's going on with him, he may be more inclined to speak candidly with you. I don't know. I don't know how your whole types work.
My types?
The Black Ops Wetworks bards. Come on, you know what I mean.
I feel like Heldred doesn't even have this information.
I know you were able to interpret all the signs that you sent me to, and I know that you can hide, and I know that you like to kill people. So I know that you're not forthcoming at all, which basically every significant character trait I know about you share with him. So it's not. I don't think it's that much of a stretch.
We can go speak with them. We do have other matters to attend to, so not long.
Yeah, just that. You know, whatever you want to do. I'm indifferent. As far as I'm concerned, he can stay there. But
yeah, as was just told to us, he's not going anywhere.
Draven, what would you like to do while you're here?
I mean, we were essentially being tasked with something, which should be relatively easy to carry out. Just need additional information. So, if Heldren would like to get that, or I can go get it.
The following resources are available to you here. Horgoth the Mighty is here, along with your other Bard and other hero collection. Also, Leaves on the River is here. Also, there are quiet places for you to sit and read your codebook.
I think I'd like to go tackle Horgoth. I think I could kind of multitask a little bit there. Maybe assist a little bit in the deprogramming while also kind of gleaning some information, all under the pretext, not even dishonestly, under the very real pretext of getting information to write a story for Faythen'oc lore that will surely highlight all of his worst qualities.
You really want me to go talk to the girl?
I mean, I can talk to her as well, and I'm fine with talking to both of them.
Okay. If Heldren's going to take care of the conversations, then I can go sit off and work on deciphering while he's doing that.
Okay, cool. Make an investigation check on your codebook. Let's see, or scholarship actually might even be better. In fact, I will straight up give you a lower difficulty by 1 on scholarship.
That's okay. I'm probably going to fail it either way. What is this paired with?
If you need the information fast so that you can get back into the action, cunning. If you're willing to take your time and make this be the only thing you do here while Heldren runs around doing all his interviews, then focus. The flip side of that, though, is cunning will get you 1 answer, focus will get you all the answers.
Yeah. But focus will give me 2 dice. This is not my category. I'm building it up as I use the codebook. Let's see. I'm okay with 1 answer because it gives me another dice. And let's see. Okay, so yeah, rapidly going through it so we can get back to the task at hand in case I need to go talk to the girl or whatever. I kind of want to get this stuff done.
Is that 4 successes, I see?
No, that's Tice's.
Oh, that's Tice's.
I got confused on my windows. I'm looking for my... Okay, so am I rolling straight? I can't remember if the codebook had any enhancements to it or anything. If it had pips related to it, or because it's just like an item and I'm using it, reading it, it's not technically providing me a benefit. I don't know.
Yeah, it'll give you a couple, like 2 pips.
Okay.
It's really the thing you're using your skill on, not exactly the thing that's helping you use your skill. But
yeah, I thought it was weird because I'm like I have 2. Like I have the object and I have the tablet from Heldren and I have the book, both of which are items I'm using, but I'm using them in combination with each other. So it's like if I don't have pips, that's fine. I just
the book makes it so that the difficulty for decrypting this encryption is less than 20 successes.
Gotcha. I don't need pips then, because it doesn't make sense for me to have them because I don't understand the codebook. Look at this, I'm removing perks from myself. Three successes.
Okay. You decrypt just barely. So the key things that you're able to pull out of it is you manage to pull out that it's basically a layered code where as you find out what the key to the next layer is, the key itself is a message. And in this case, the message in the initial key that you needed to decrypt is it is imperative that the people believe the Emperor built this reservoir. Using that key, you're able to get to the next layer down, which says, this reservoir exists to contain a psychic demon. There is more, a layer under that you just can't quite get at. But yeah, you have some information. Every time you decrypt one of the symbols, you have to write it down as a new symbol. And then these new symbols, when next to each other, if you shift your vision or rotate the page in certain ways, they form new symbols of the same crypto system. So this was not just constructed by somebody who was good at math or good at crypto or was just following a code book. This was constructed by a poet who knew how to line up words so that underneath them would be new words that were part of the poem. Also, it has a rhyme scheme. And that doesn't seem to have any message at all, it's just him showing off.
Perfect. Okay, the first part, what was the first part? Is it imperative that the people believe the Emperor built this reservoir?
Yes. It is imperative that the people believe the Emperor built this reservoir is the first key. Underneath that, there's a new key, which indicates that the purpose of the reservoir is to contain a psychic demon.
There's a lot of psychic demons floating around here. Unless it's the same psychic demon.
This whole place is just full of psychic demons.
Fuck those guys, man. Psychic demons everywhere.
All right, I'll take note of all that and go find people once they're done with their stuff.
All right, and you did that with cunning, so we'll get through one interview and then you'll rejoin.
Yeah.
All right, Heldren, who do you want to go talk to first?
I suppose Leaves on the River probably makes more sense because that'll probably be a shorter conversation.
Okay. She's happy to see you. Really just happy for the company at all. Spirit speakers and the various ghosts they summon are not making for great conversation. But it's kind of relaxing for her to not have 1,000 chores she needs to get done, while at the same time sneaking drugs around. So this is vacation in a way for her.
I'll greet her. I'll say, hello, Luz on the River. How are you holding up in here?
Heldren, it's a bit cooped, but I'm relaxing.
Good. I'm sure you haven't had much time to do that over the years.
No, I have not.
Say, well, I did promise to you that we would bring Takagamas to justice, and we're working on that now. So yeah, I just want to make sure that you know that.
When you say bring him to justice, her eyes light up, and she's about to ask, "Did you kill him yet?" And you say, "We're working on that now." She kind of sighs and says, "Okay, working on it."
I'll say, to be clear, we're not against him dying, and frankly, that is my preferred outcome for him, as I'm sure it's yours. But we need to make sure that this case is resolved before he dies. That's a necessary part of ensuring that you can go free, and that's
and
only
rejoin her son. Remember, because we know that guy too. So.
Yep. And that's the promise we made to your son. That's what I assume is what you want as well. That's what I hope is what you want. But as part of this, making this happen, is my intention to write a story to be told far and wide about Takagama's cowardice and unworthiness. We're going to attack his credibility. And to do that, I feel very fortunate that we have you and Horgath here, people who have direct experience with him, who can perhaps help me to highlight some of his worst and most unenviable traits. And to just jump right into that, I'd like to ask you a little bit about this drug trade that he ran.
Okay, I'll answer the questions as best I can.
Yeah, so just like in as much detail as you can you walk me through how specifically a drug drop would go there? If we were to go in there seeking evidence that we can use to get him convicted in a court, we need to get as specific as possible about exactly what time these drops took place. Where the drop location was, how it's accessed, the names of any contacts you may have had, or whatever means you had of communicating with them. If there are ways that we can get into or out of the estate, and specifically to the drop location without arousing suspicion, that would certainly help. If there are any, I assume you probably had to move about quite a bit without being detected.
Yes. My pickups and drop-offs were always in the same two spots, though what direction I was going was different. I would either pick up from a loose rock just inside the cellar door around the back of the house, and then take it into town, where there was a tree where a stone with a false bottom. I would hide it there and place it under the root of the tree in a park in the town. Or I would go the other way, and I would find out from an agent of Moon in the Rain which direction I was to transport, whether I was to take from the park to the cellar or from the cellar to the park. The cellar was always the easiest to get to, as I lived there. It was in the manor house where I lived, which I think is why he was willing to pay me so well, as it was an easy alibi. The park, I'd have to find excuses. I'd always look like I was slacking, taking a break, and ignoring my duties, but I was never reprimanded for it. And I was paid very, very well.
Okay, very good.
Payment would always come half with the delivery that I would keep, and then half a day later at the drop-off point.
Okay, good. And was that money at the drop-off point for you to collect simultaneously with the drop-off, or was that money delivered to you somehow?
It was always at the drop-off point one day after.
Okay.
Which sometimes meant I had to go into town a second day to pick up my money from the park. Sometimes it meant I just would go down to the cellar, which was a really easy, non-suspicious task.
So when you had to go into the park on a second day, I assume Takagama must have understood that this was going on and endorsed it.
I always suspected so.
Yeah. Did he directly sanction? Did he directly give you the go-ahead in any way, or was it kind of a passive? Basically, did he send you into town, or did you just kind of go and he never stopped you?
He never sent me, but he also never stopped me. I never brought it up with him because I intended to use the money to buy poison to kill him.
Fair enough. And I assume that the park that she's talking about, is it? Would we need to specify which park, or is it just kind of?
No, it's yeah. There's a little patch of like wooded area that was never quite cleared. The brush is kind of cleared out, so there's some trails through it. But it's next to the market, and it acts as during the day it acts as a nice place for people to go and sit. At night it acts for a place for some of the rowdy merchants at the night market to go and take a quick piss in the bushes before going back to doing business.
Okay, cool. I'll say, as far as getting into and out of the cellar, granted, this may not have really applied to you since you had pretty much a perpetual alibi to be there. But if, say, a complete stranger were to attempt to get to that drop point, is there anything they should particularly take note of by way of, surveillance or patrols or traps or locks or anything like that?
Well, Horgoth patrols the grounds. Or I suppose he did. I saw him traveling with us. So I'm not sure if he's still there. He was the greatest threat that was there. But there are other servants as well. Some of whom have taken the drug and might be more loyal to Takikamas than is warranted.
Fair enough. And I assume you wouldn't know this, so it's fine if you don't. But if by any chance you do, the manufacturer of this drug, is this something that you have any reason to believe Takagamas was directly involved in, or ideally maybe even happened on his estate?
Oh, no. I'm fairly certain that the manufacturer is Moon in the Rain. Takagamas didn't have any facility I knew of that could produce in nearly the quantities, but I was only shipping a small package back and forth. I was not shipping distribution level stuff.
Do you know of anywhere on his estate that theoretically could serve as a location for manufacturing these drugs? So a place that we could maybe check.
There are a couple private rooms that I wasn't allowed to clean. One in the cellar, one in the attic, and then his private study on the second floor.
I wonder if he benefited from it. I mean, he had to know shit was going on. He's in bed with all these dudes.
Yeah, he definitely knew. I mean, I assume he was getting a cut at a minimum. So you said that there was a room you were not allowed to clean in the cellar.
Yes.
And relative to the drop-off spot, where is this located?
The drop-off spot is right on the inside of the door to the cellar, before you get to where the wines and cheeses are kept. But further in is a door that is locked, and that's where disobedient servants would be taken. I was not allowed to go in to clean that.
Did you ever speak with any of the disobedient servants? Did anyone ever speak of what was in there?
None ever spoke of what was in there. Few ever spoke again.
Perhaps that's where the drugs are being manufactured. Probably not, but we can't rule it out. And under my breath, I'll say, at a minimum, is where we can plant a bunch of shit.
It's worth a look.
So, you say he punished servants so harshly that they never spoke again.
2 that I saw.
Do you happen to know where these servants, do they still live, to the best of your knowledge?
1 killed herself a month later. The other, as far as I know, is still there and cleaning. She just doesn't speak, ever.
Is she perhaps addicted to the drugs? Or is she just there, I would assume at this point, against her free will, unless she's got some kind of addiction binding her there?
I wouldn't know. I don't see her taking the drug, but then those who are given the drug are often very discreet about it.
I'd be curious to know what's in that. What he could have behind those doors that could.
I always assumed it was torture.
Yeah, I assume it's torture. I'm a little mortified, or not mortified. I'm curious to know exactly how depraved a level of torture he could be engaging in to rob people of their ability or willingness to speak. This will certainly be something worth highlighting in the tale we tell of him.
I think I'd rather not know. It could have been me in there at any moment. I'd rather not think about that.
Well, if we do this right, there won't be anyone else in there again.
She nods, and she hands you a key. She says, "They never took this off me. Unless they've changed the locks, this is still the key to the cellar."
See.
There's actually other keys on the ring, too. She points them out. She says, "Main door, and this is the supply closets that the younger servants are not allowed into yet for fear that they will steal."
Interesting. All right. Well, thank you for that. I can assure you that this will be of great use in bringing down Takagamas. Say, that's all I have for questions. If there's anything else that you feel I should know before we start this journey, by all means, please tell me. But if you're satisfied with where we are now, I think we've got enough to go on.
I think I'm going to take a little rest. This has been very taxing, remembering all these things.
Yes, of course. Yeah, by all means, have a good rest.
All right. She goes back in her room, lays down to sleep, and Gallista takes up her position at the door again. Having overheard this talk of you bringing him down, Gallista is filled with glee.
Yeah, it's not it's not the kind of justice we're used to, but it'll be a different kind of justice it'll do for now until real justice can find its way to him.
Draven, you return? As much a statement as a question, really.
Okay.
I assume. What is Heldren's status at the moment?
Heldren has just come out of an interview with Leaves on the River.
Perfect. I'll approach Heldren and say, "Did you get everything of use?"
So yeah, I'd still like to talk to Horgath. I think there might be more that he can offer about like specific patrol routes, and she did state what I pretty much suspected, which was that the main he was the main force kind of patrolling the grounds and keeping everything in order. So hopefully they're in some general sense sort of disarray anyways, but I do think he'll be able to lend some real insight as far as their security there. It sounds like he was in charge of it. But beyond that, I suppose I'll just kind of recount everything I was just told. I'll say that there's one drop-off point that's a loose stone just inside the cellar door. There is another that is in a tree in the park, down in the town. It was a tree with a stone with a false bottom. These were the drop. These were the drops for both the drugs and for the money. That there are 3 private rooms that she was not allowed into. Any of these could be worthwhile to either investigate to see what's there, or if we do end up planting anything, these could be 3 places where we could readily plant whatever evidence we're going to plant, and we have it on pretty good authority that none of the servants actually know what is in any of these locations, so nobody would really be able to state that drug-related things weren't there. Specifically, the cellar seems like it was probably a dungeon or a torture chamber of some kind. I'm not really sure what the laws or what the general kind of social standards around like torture are here. I assume it's looked down on in a similar way to how we look down on it, in which case it might make it harder for him to defend himself because it might be hard to say no, that's not where I make drugs, it's where I torture my servants to death.
Especially if they're indentured servants. If they're indentured servants, they're protected by the imperial law. All indentured servants are technically the emperor's servants on loan to other people. They're to be treated with respect.
Okay, so if we're going to plant things, that might be the right place to plant them, just because he doesn't really have an alibi for what's actually going on there that that he'll want anyone hearing. So just a thought. And also I'll take out the key ring and I'll point at the keys. I'll say, so this is the cellar key, this is the front door key, this is the supply closet key, etc., etc. And I'll hand him the key ring.
So I take that and stow that away. Did you mention where the stuff we're supposed to acquire was at?
Yeah, she said she mentioned which floorboard it was under in her. Was it in her bedchamber or just in the cellar?
In her bedchamber is where she had it stashed.
Okay, so we know the whereabouts of that bedchamber in the home.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was something that she had picked up from the cellar, but had not had time to deliver to the park before the incidents of attempted murder occurred. She did pretend to go to deliver it to the park, but then she instead of going to the park, she went to her contact with Snow in the Branches, got the poison, and then went back to try and
say hopefully a quick conversation with Horgath can can reveal some useful information to make it easier to get from the grounds into the estate itself. But at least as far as Leaves on the River is concerned, I think that's pretty much the extent of what she can offer.
Got it. Considering this other person was head of security, I don't know that, or head of keeping things in line there, I don't know that they have something built in, but I shall accompany you to question him, and then I think this is enough for me to be off.
Yeah, you're probably right. That did occur to me. There's a good chance they're just in complete disarray now. But if there is somebody else who may have stepped up in his absence, I suspect he would know who that person might be.
So you find Radico in a trance, Horgoth seemingly asleep on just like a bench. Both of you can immediately tell Radico is inside his mind, probably performing some kind of psychic surgery on him. Sinlan is standing guard over them. Radico seems to be pretty good at this whole psychic thing. You're pretty sure you could contact him without really interrupting what he's doing.
Okay, and just as a quick sidebar before we start, I assume in Faythen'oc culture, we soundly look down on things like torture and rape, right?
Oh yeah, that's like
okay, yeah. Like I'm fairly certain we do. Just want to make absolutely certain that that's like a uniform code, and it's not like say like America, where some people are very much against it and some aren't.
Yeah, no. In a nation composed entirely of heroes, such actions that's villainy. And that's the sort of thing where if somebody finds out that somebody's doing that, then there's just a line of heroes going out the door waiting for their chance to smite the villain.
So highlighting that this is the kind of shit that Takahamas is involved in certainly can't harm the process of deprogramming Horgoth.
Probably not. Yeah, so Radico's, he's able to just psychically communicate with you if you want to ask him questions.
Yeah, I would. I'll start very minimal to say like, hello, Radico, and psychically, not actually say it. Yeah.
Yeah. He says, I hope things are going well for you. This has been far more complicated than I thought. The work here was done with skills of a Faythen'oc bard.
Faythen'oc? What kind of Faythen'oc bard would take part in this?
I don't know, but it's not a good sign. He was indoctrinated into their culture very heavily. He believed he owed a debt to this man, something to do with gambling. It looks like he was targeted. Takegama's probably cheated in a game of chance, and rather than force him to pay a monetary sum he didn't have, he offered him the honorable chance to remain an honorable Faythen'oc by working off his debt. And at that point, something got fuzzy in this guy's head. And so he's been operating under the assumption that he owes Takegama's his service.
Interesting. And I don't suppose he has any recollection of who this bard was. I assume that would have been erased purely as a means of covering his tracks.
Yeah, I found memory scars, points that are continuously erasing themselves, but so there's signs that this was definitely a bard's work, but no indication of the identity of the bard that did the erasure.
Interesting. Well, we're assembling a group to fulfill our obligation, ensuring that he's brought to justice and that Leaves on the River is granted her freedom. As part of that, I was hoping to get a little bit of information about the estate itself from Horgoth, partly to assist in this mission, and partly so that I can, write the definitive account of Takekamas the Coward. Is that something you think he's up to?
Maybe. I could wake him and you could talk if you want. Or, I mean, It might hurt a little bit, but if you're up to withstanding a bit of pain, I could just inject his memories of the layout into your mind.
Yeah, sure. Let's go with the latter.
Okay. So this is what your guys are doing. You are going to be rolling your potential as though you're making a psychic attack. For every success, you will reduce the damage coming at you by 1. So there's a 5-point tax coming at your composure, which, if you acquire this, you will have complete knowledge of the layout and the basically every security measure of the place. It's up to you guys if you, like, on an individual level, who wants to attempt this. It's a dangerous procedure, having somebody else's memories injected into your head, but yeah, it could be super useful.
Can we?
I don't believe I'm equipped for this task.
Can we assist one another in this task?
I can pat you on the back.
You could, if you worked together to get it into one person's head, then you could do that, and then that one person would have the map.
I'll turn to Drev and I'll say, "Look, I could. This is entirely your call. You know, again, you're the one that's going to be going in there. If you'd like, I've got no problem at all with being the one that goes in there, and I'll make you as detailed a map as possible, or if you'd like to have it directly in your own mind, I'd be happy to assist you in that. Totally your call."
Can you draw me a Q8 map? I mean, it probably makes more sense for me just to have the map. I don't.
Okay, can I somehow just kind of stand in there as sort of a buffer so that whatever does get reflected back, I can just kind of try to redirect it to me so that he's at 100% going into the mission.
Oh, okay. So you want to take the damage for him?
Yeah,
if damage occurs. Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's do that.
So both of you make your rolls. If you total 5 or more, then no damage is dealt.
Just rolling potential?
Yep.
And psychic keenness would apply here, right?
Yes, it would. I see 2. I see 2 more, so you take a point of damage. Presumably to your composure, although, of course, you can argue other things.
Composure's fine.
All right, you now have a quality 10 map of the the compound, the manor house. You know every room. You know that he did hire 2 sort of mercenaries who are pretty good at stealth, who have a patrol route they're supposed to do. You know all the holes in that patrol route, and yeah. You also know the few places he did put in traps. Most of them are not traps designed to hurt you. They're just traps designed so that when he comes by, he can see that they were tricked. So they're incredibly subtle things that will be disrupted by opening certain doors or stepping on certain places in the floor that will reveal to him on inspection that somebody walked this way, somebody opened this door.
Gotcha. That doesn't seem like super important. I don't think it matters if he knows we were there, but it's still something to account for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it makes sense from his perspective, right? There's going to be people wandering all over this manor house, servants and everything, right? So he's really just keeping track of where people are more than he is trying to, like, injure somebody who walks down a hallway. People are going to walk down the hallway. He just wants to know when they walk down the hallway.
Got it.
All right. Meanwhile, in the market, Tice, delighting in your delicious recipes, what would you like to do next?
I guess I'll because there's a lot of traders here and stuff. I'm gonna go see. I'm gonna ask around, see if there's any traders that have come from the Imperial City, and see if they know any trade routes that go along that way.
There are. You quite easily find traders of all shapes and various materials that have traveled from the Imperial City out here like the spokes of a wheel. They travel outward to the edges of the Empire, sometimes rotating about the Empire a bit and then travel back again. The Imperial City is the hub of everything. They like this place in particular because the combination of roads and rivers makes it a natural meeting point for sort of the outer wheel to meet up, so that people coming along the road from the Imperial City have a good opportunity to travel laterally to other provinces that might be on other spokes of the Great Trade Wheel.
Okay, so I want to see if there's anyone like within the next week that might be going back there, so we could maybe acquire some wheel transportation. That it will be a lot faster than it's just walking there.
You do find a few people that are going to be heading that way. All of them indicate that it would be a journey that would take months.
Oh, I see. Do you know of any other ways that might get a faster way to the I'll ask them if they know any other ways of getting to the Imperial City in a faster route. They've heard anything before?
Make a connections roll. Ah, very nice. Yes, there is some manner of flying contraption run by a wizard that makes these rolls. And for your second success, you learn that this wizard only provides his services to diplomats, who basically he fancies himself the lord of his own province, of which he is the only resident. And the province is basically just his wizard's tower. But he maintains this position as a lord by offering services to imperial emissaries and diplomats. So it's sort of a trade where if you have diplomatic status and official voucher saying you're supposed to be using this service, then it's a very, very rapid magical travel. The merchants also think that it's insane and that wagons shouldn't fly, and it will no doubt fall out of the sky.
Well, where I'm from, flying wagons there's quite a few places in where I am from that flying wagons is a normal thing. But yeah, thank you for the information. How does one become diplomat?
Oh, you journey to the Imperial City and take an exam.
So if I were to ask the wizard that I want to wish to become diplomats, that be a diplomat junior and get a ride from him?
They'll kind of laugh like, no. You become the diplomat first, you see. They don't let students just fly around. That would be ridiculous. There'd be students falling out of the sky everywhere you went.
But that's part of the learning curve, is falling out of the sky.
One of the drunk sort of guys says, no, the students have to take the pilgrimage, you know? They have to travel through all the provinces, learning the laws as they go. Then when they get there, then they apply all they've learned to the test, and then fail, and then head back out and learn more stuff, and go try again.
So like a hero's journey.
Yeah. The journey, definitely. Street lights. The dude is very drunk.
I guess I'll head back to try to find my good old friend the captain of the province from below?
Oh yeah, the captain of the Hypo province. He is at the palace, talking to the Lord of Jaipur.
Yeah, whenever he's free, I'd like to have a word with him.
Okay. Well, they recognize you. You're welcome there. So you're just invited right on into the palace, and they happily invite you to sit down at the table where they're having a little snack, and they're talking about the future of Hypo and how it might be time for a change of leadership in the south.
Speaking of leadership, does the Southern have a diplomat?
Yes, there is a representative from Hypo here.
Would be able to convince them to take us to, if you were to get new leadership, you'd have to go to the Imperial City, right?
You're asking like if the diplomat will go to the Imperial City for you?
Like if the diplomat has to go to the Imperial City to get someone appointed as a new leader for the place, that we might be able to get a ride along.
Oh, they would need imperial approval to do what they're talking about doing. Right now, they're sort of, because Jaipur is one of Hypo's friends, so they're being super delicate in their conversation. They're not openly talking about overthrowing him right now. They're talking about going through sort of a natural transition process of honorable retirement and replacement by a subordinate, which would not necessarily need imperial oversight. It would be part of the natural process of non-hereditary succession.
Okay, because currently I'm in a bit of a predicament. I need to find a diplomat that will take us through the Wizard's Tower so that we can get to the Imperial City in days instead of months, and we need a diplomat to take us there.
All right, make a persuasion check.
Am I being respectful?
Oh yes, you are. You're talking to Highborn people, and you have not yet insulted any of them. You've only asked polite questions.
That'd be 4 successes.
The Lord of Jaipur says, if your friends are successful in resolving the legal dispute, then absolutely. We've needed help in curbing this drug trade for a long time, and from what I understand, at least one of your companions has been deputized by my primary prosecutor. So, yeah, if they succeed, then I will sign the papers myself to grant you passage.
That would be grateful. I'd be honored to. And if you wish me to make any tea or anything for you, I'd be, of course, gladly like to.
He says, you know what? I would like some tea. That would be excellent. Thank you. What recipe would you like to serve him?
I got some dried fruit on me. I'm going to. I got this like nice little summer medley tea that recipe that I have as well. That I'm gonna like make this like super medley tea, just like something fruity and like something pick me up when like this like sort of to break the ice of like the current sort of like lighten up the mood sort of tea.
Awesome. And so you do. Meanwhile, I think the rest of you guys meet up.
Well, I have my people on the case, and we're in the process of acquiring some illicit goods in an illicit way. So I've checked all of my illicit boxes for today. I put my hat back on and say, and now I am a legal scholar, and I will go back and speak with my my legal counsel. I look around for Draven, and then not seeing him, I just say into the darkness, I expect that the evidence will be available in due time. In due time. All these things take time.
Apparently, the darkness is silent.
Pretty much.
It'd be funny if he just wasn't there, so you're just talking into the darkness.
I think I already left, actually. Like, reasonably, I have the map, I have all the information I need. I've just already left.
Right on. So, off into the woods you go. It's basically effortless with that map in your head for you to avoid patrols. We don't need to do any major rolls for that. Where in the house would you like to go? Inside the house, by the way, there are going to be servants. They're not really on a patrol route, as their job isn't to guard things, but they're going to be doing various chores. Your map knowledge does include their tendencies of where they do chores when, although this can always be disrupted by the master and mistress of the house making a mess somewhere that needs to be cleaned up. There's some flexibility built into the schedule.
Yeah, okay. So I don't have any other objectives other than getting to that room and grabbing what I was supposed to grab. So I checked. That's why I'd initially asked, like, what should I be grabbing?
As the sun sets, you can see that in one of the upper floor rooms, the master and mistress of the house are relatively near a window, having a small argument. There's lights within in the various places. You see the shadows of servants moving back and forth on the upper floors. The basement, on the other hand, the cellar, has its own entrance outside of the building. So you don't even need to go into the building to get to the cellar.
Okay, and her room was in the cellar?
No, her room is on the second floor.
Okay, but I don't necessarily need anything in the cellar. At least for this trip. I can always come back.
In your layout, you do know that there is a ladder that leads up from the cellar into a sort of maintenance crawl space for the privy. It's not a pleasant place, but otherwise, primarily the cellar is accessed through the outside door because there's a nice set of stairs.
Okay, so you can, from the map, I know I can get into the cellar and then travel throughout the house.
Travel up into one of the main floor privies through a ladder that's meant for dealing with evacuating waste.
Okay, that's probably going to be a fine route to go then.
What they've basically done is they've stacked all the privies on top of each other, such that the pipes for their waste all flow into the same channel. There's a ladder in that channel because sometimes people need to go up there and unclog it.
So as long as it's not clogged, I'm okay.
Indeed. If it is clogged, there'll be a servant in there who's probably not okay.
And they'll be less okay. Okay. From what I remember from the outside and from what I have of the map, what was the second floor? What was the openings like on the second floor? Windows and such like that?
You get windows all around the house. Several of them on the second floor in particular are to servants' quarters. However, there is one set that leads into a sort of games room in which there is a table set up that's meant to have balls on it that are knocked around in some pattern. The table can also be reconfigured for card games. This room is strategically positioned very close to the stairs that lead down to the kitchen, so that food can be brought up for entertaining guests in the course of game. Most of the other rooms for entertaining guests are on the ground floor. And then the third floor, the upper floor, the floor before the attic, the third floor consists of the main bedroom for the master and mistress, 2 offices, one for each of them, and yeah, some supply closets and things. But their master bedroom and their offices are enormous and occupy most of the upper level.
Okay. Is there a window to the room I need to get into?
Yes.
Is it on the same side as the master bedroom?
Yes. Your memory map does indicate that this window was not intended to open, as they have had problems in the past with servants trying to kill themselves. So it is has been sealed shut by means of iron bars inserted into it. This does not necessarily mean you are barred from entry, you just have to find a way to remove the iron bars. Anyone with any amount of stone carving skill could just carve the bars directly out of the wall.
Or someone with a tool that can cut through.
It was explicitly designed for, yes.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm currently equipped with something that can get through iron bars. I would hope.
Also, you have magic.
Yeah. What all did we test against the staff or the spear? Did we test anything?
The spear primarily uses life magic.
True, but the sharp blades on it.
Yeah, no, those blades they cut pretty good. You did find that stone and metal casings were very effective at preventing them from cutting.
Okay,
whereas
so they
cloth
probably
gets
can't.
shredded.
Got it. So it's really good at cutting organic and stuff like that, but not good at cutting metal.
Yeah, stone and metal is not really its domain. Additionally, you have your tattoo, which allows you to grip onto surfaces and become rooted and immovable. And you have your just general magical ability, and there is enormous amounts of psychic misery of various forms just sort of flooding out of this place.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the misery. I figured there'd be a lot floating around. A lot of dark emotions, rather. Okay, I don't think I have an effective way to get in the second floor from the outside. So, what are my routes from the main floor to the second floor from that privy? Are there servant routes heavily congested there?
It would be a really tight squeeze to climb up the pipes that go from that shaft, but it's not impossible. And so you could just come out of a toilet. And then you'd have to exit the bathroom and then make your way. That's one way to do it. Alternatively, if you don't want to be covered in poop, you could try and just break one of the walls, as the walls inside the building are primarily made of wood. whereas the outer foundations and structures are stone. We have seen before that you do have the capacity to cause explosions, though not always successfully.
Yeah, but that really puts a speed on my objective.
If the intention is stealth, then breaking things is probably counterproductive.
Yeah, I think I want to just play this as ridiculous as possible. Let me think of how to do this. So I'm gonna be camped out. I have keys to all the doors, right?
You have a key to the front door, you have a key to the cellar door, and you have a key to a supply closet that only the more senior members of staff are supposed to have access to, because apparently, amongst all of his other flaws, he's afraid that his servants will steal office supplies.
Of course. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to focus in on just probably the emotions of them. Try to find the emotions in the basically the master Takagama's, and I'm assuming I can find in there that he wants, and just other people in here want to be away from all this. There's too much happening. It's awful things. And I want to channel that into going invisible. I'm trying to think of what the caveat to this is.
Unfortunately, the most obvious caveat is being here.
Yeah. Which would just break it as soon as I did it. I mean, I feel like the obvious one I should be able to pull based on the events I saw would be Takagama's wants safety and wants to be away from here and wants us all to go away. I use that to go invisible because his hope is to protect his wife, mistress, whatever. And so if no harm comes to her, this all goes away. And I use that to go invisible.
Okay.
If I can feed off that emotion, because that should be happening. I could be wrong, and this could backfire on me.
If any harm comes to her, your spell will be broken by anyone.
Yeah. Exactly.
Anyone.
They're in an argument, so this
They're
could
in
be
an
a
argument
problem.
right now.
I just hope he's not a. He just tried to save her, so I hope he's not a physical beat kind of person.
He has a torture room in his basement, from what you've heard.
That's true, but he was also very sad when we were holding a knife to her neck. I'm weighing my human reading capabilities right now. So I'm hiding out near the outside of the houses, and I'm near the outside of the front door, basically just hidden out in the bushes, kind of thing. Assuming there are bushes or trees or something.
Lots of trees, yeah.
And I focus in on this new emotions. I don't have any personally, but these other people seem to be hung up on them. And I love it. Key in on that. Get shrouded in darkness and go invisible, and then just start heading for the front door.
Okay. You arrive at the front door. It is closed, but there is some bustling within. It looks like an evening meal is being prepared.
The layout of the house, there's a...
front door leads into a reception hall.
Yeah, so it's not like a kitchen, right? So, like, that's the other door?
Right. Kitchen is its own door. The front door leads into a reception hall, which is just meant to look impressive and to have a stairway. It's not exactly a spiral stair, but it kind of curves from out of sight so that the host or hostess can make a dramatic entrance down the stair. Otherwise, there are doors leading out into various rooms to entertain. There are 2 different drawing rooms, one in the front, one in the back. There's a kitchen. There's a full-on dining room, and there's a room that appears at this moment to be dedicated to dancing. Although, it looks like the sort of room that constantly is getting renovated, as it looks much newer than the other rooms. You'd think of it in terms of, it's the hobby room. It's the room that when they feel like they're sword masters, that's going to be where they practice swords. When they feel like they're ballet professionals, they're going to practice ballet. But from the rate of which the renovations occur, it seems like they never mastered any of these, and they just come and go like fads.
Got it. From the other side of the door, can I hear any movement?
Yes. People are definitely working in the kitchen. You can hear the banging of plates, the sizzling of things that sizzle, and footsteps of people going in and out with materials.
Okay, if I check the lock on the door, is it locked? Like, quietly?
It is locked, but you have the key.
Okay, so I want to quietly unlock it.
Stealth check. Your spell is a... What circle is that invisibility?
Second circle.
Okay, so add that many dice to your roll. I'm sorry, successes. Add that many successes to your result.
Okay, so stealth check?
Yeah, stealth check, and then add your spell as successes. You can't be seen, but you might be heard. You're unlocking a door, though. It doesn't make a lot of noise, so it's pretty low difficulty.
Wow.
You somehow miraculously succeed despite all those failures.
I don't have tips associated with my invisible stuff, so.
Your invisible thing gave you 2 other successes, so that's 4 successes total.
4.
Yeah. So you unlock the door successfully. I presume you're going to go through?
Yeah, my objective is to open it, not a slamming motion, but enough to like kind of make it look like a breeze kind of opened it, and then just immediately enter and peruse the room like kind of to the side of the door frame.
Okay. You're fortunate that most of the footfalls that you're hearing are people going directly from the kitchen to the dining area. So this area is mostly clear. There is one person on their way up the stairs, but their back is to you, and then they disappear around the corner.
Okay, and I'll use that as an opportunity to close the door behind me.
All right, you're now in the main hall. You're invisible, so no one will be able to see you.
All right, and I am being as quick as possible. So I know I need to be up on the 2nd floor, and I know which room, so using the map, I basically just map that out, like where I need to go, and then keep an eye out for people as I just head straight for that, but not at a like sprint, at a quiet pace.
Okay, cool. And Takigama succeeded in his propriety check, so he has not yet slapped his wife.
But he's making propriety checks.
All right, you climb the stairs. You are now up at the second floor. There is, again, there's the servant that you had seen below. She is walking up the stairs, further to the third floor with a tray of something. You hope it's a good and delicious something that will distract them from their argument.
Should have brought some stuff from the tea maker and just slip that on the cart. Forethought. Afterthought?
You guys let your tea maker wander away way too often. He's so useful. You would not believe the skills he has for navigating these situations.
I think I'm still convinced that he's not that useful. A tattoo artist, on the other hand.
He walked into a combat situation, sat down, had tea, and completely changed the landscape of that entire fight.
That's true. He did do that. All right. This is a like a connected staircase? Like it just kind of like goes from one to the next?
Yeah. So it did its curve. It reaches this landing, and then a few steps, like a few feet later, it continues going straight up onto the third floor. Got it.
Okay. So that servant is gone relatively quickly.
Yeah.
So I'll head over. If there's no one else up here, I'll head directly toward the room. But I'll deviate if there's anyone else up here.
No, there's no one else up here. The game room is empty. There might be some servants asleep because it's not their shift in their quarters. So you have that knowledge in your map, but you also know exactly which quarters belonged to Leaves on the River.
Cool. I head straight to that one.
All right. Servants are not allowed to have locked doors, so the door opens at a touch, and you're inside and close the door, and you know. Okay, so here's where your map begins to falter. This guy has no idea. The guy who you stole the map from, he did not know about loose floorboards. So you're going to need to do a quick investigation check of this room to find a loose floorboard. It's pretty easy. You're going to have to completely fail all successes to not find it. But the more successes you get, the faster you find it.
All right, so this would be investigation and cunning because I'm rapid pace, or is it not?
Yeah, investigation plus cunning.
Or is it?
Your first success means that you succeed. For each additional success, you will be giving Takigama a threshold in his propriety roll as you quickly get out before he slaps his wife. Actually, I'll just give him pips. I think that's a little better.
Two successes.
Okay.
I rolled the wrong number.
Yeah, that seemed like a very small amount for investigation for you.
I mean, it was only one more. I have 2 investigation, 2 cunning, but that's fine. I got 2 out of 4.
Hey, look at that! That pip actually saved his wife. Good job. All right, so you find the loose floorboard, and here you find a package. And inside the package appears to be a yellow powder.
Okay, so I didn't make sure I had containers.
The package itself is kind of a container, but that would be if you took the whole package. If you're just taking a sample, then you just want to scoop that up into a little bottle or bag or something.
Yeah, I want to take just a small sample. So I don't want to assume that I had a container. I didn't think to grab one.
It would be utterly ridiculous if you came here without a container.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if I have a container, I scoop as much as I need. I'll just fill a container.
If I really wanted to pad this for time, I'd make you stealth your way back down to the kitchen and find a container. That would be that's ridiculous. You have a container.
Or go to the storage closet or whatever. Got to get in that room. What floor was that on, by the way?
Second floor. You're on that floor.
Oh, I mean, I can go look in that storage closet.
Yes, you can. So you leave the room, you check the storage closet, it has a container, you take the container back in, and you now have this in the container.
Perfect.
We've made use of that, and it's not merely a red herring.
Perfect. It really was just a funny thing that the guy had, but still useful. Okay, so I have that. I honestly don't think there's that much. I didn't plan on doing anything else in here. So examining the iron bars, they're like welded to the stone. Is that, I don't know what the term would be there.
Kind of. So they're forged bent, placed up against the stone, and then straightened so that they slide into holes that are put in the stone. If you had the strength to bend iron, you could just bend them back out again. If you have the tools to chip away stone, you can just chip away where the holes are and create a channel to just pull it straight out. If you have magic, you can transmute it into chickens.
I think all of that makes too much noise for my mission. So I'll take the longer, may result in me having to run very fast route and just head back down to the main floor. And go back through the front door.
All right. So now the chef is going to make his roll to see if he distracted them from their fight. The wife is insulting at the poor quality of the cakes that she was brought, but the servant is too afraid to slap her for being so rude. So the servant leaves and the wife remains unmolested.
The servant would have slapped the wife, is that what you said?
At a low enough roll, then the wife may have actually attacked the servant, forcing her to defend herself. Yes.
It's a very tense.
You chose a very risky contingency for your invisibility spell.
It was definitely worth it, though. This is a much more interesting way to break into a house than just walking straight through it.
So down the stairs you are, and at the front door, do you care if anyone notices you opening and leaving through the front door? Or are you going to be stealthy one last time?
That's a good question. In my recollection, did I trip anything along this route to prove that I had opened a door that I shouldn't have?
Only if you wanted to. You know where all of them are, so you can reset them as you go.
I wasn't checking as I went, so I wasn't sure if you, like, if I went back as an afterthought.
Some of them are really clever. You're pretty sure that if you didn't have this map out of the guy's head, that you would have left some indication that either this guy or one of the two lackeys that he has patrolling outside in the woods would have noticed. but as it is, you know how to put them all back together.
Got it. Okay, so I think a commitment to my I was never even here because I love that element. I wait at the door until it's vacant in that room, walk out, lock the door, and leave. And
All
if
right.
I need to stealth check that,
one last stealth check. Yep. Oh, you aced that stealth check. Nicely done.
I can lock a door quietly.
And the Lord, as you're closing the door, you hear the Lord Jaipur say, "Why were you so rude to the servant?" and smack his wife. And you appear. But you're outside now in the woods.
Yeah, and I start running.
All right, and so you return to the group. Let's see. I want to do some quick close-up with the rest of you before we proceed. So let's... Tice, you had managed to secure a promise of passage if this issue is resolved. Miles, did you need to do any last-second things? Or are you just waiting? You're waiting for Drayton?
Yeah, not really. I'm just gonna start writing and probably.
Excellent. And
probably go to sleep to catch up on my rest.
A good plan. You guys need some pips. You need some tax restored. And let's see. And Nergui, you return to the prosecutor, who has a very worried expression on her face.
Okay.
Says, there may be some issues with the claim about rape and forced abortion.
Very well. What would these issues be?
Well, finding that to be absolutely an atrocious crime, I certainly went to seek out evidence, and I had a physician, as well as a spirit speaker, examine Miss Leaves on the River. Discreetly, of course, and all of her good health and well-being, but they found no indication that she's been pregnant within the time period indicated.
Well, that is interesting.
And the spirit speaker saw no residue of a deceased infant or fetus or anything, really.
Well, I'm the one that got her out of the situation. Perhaps she's embellishing, or perhaps she's hiding something else. Perhaps it wasn't her. Or perhaps she's on these drugs. Things can happen. I'll speak with her and see if I can get to the bottom of it, discreetly, of course. Also, I should say that the other processes that we've put in motion are in motion.
Most excellent. You've been an effective deputy, I trust.
I say the rape and forced abortion charges are, of course, detestable. If they're not true, they don't need to be brought around. But I think that those are sort of extra charges in any case. I don't think that they're kind of not material to the goals that we're trying to get in any case. They would add more punch, I think, but I'll see if I can get to the bottom of it, and the truth will out.
To be perfectly honest, and this is something you'll learn as you take your exams, my main reason for pursuing them is if I offer him a plea deal to escape his punishments for the false false servitude that he is currently aware of, I then would be able to nail him to the wall with this after he's after he's given testimony against Moon on the Rain, which would allow me to imprison both of them. But
I feign surprise and I say, genius. I say, I have much to learn. Much to learn.
Do you roll to see if she believes that you're actually surprised?
Leverage is a very important thing to have, I say.
I think you will be an excellent investigator when you pass your exams. All right, and that's where we're going to end there. And I think for the most part, your characters are probably going to get another night's sleep at that point. But we can go ahead and do closing ceremony, and we'll pick up again next week.
Okay. I'd like to give one to Kite for basically doing the having his whole plan based on hoping that the husband keeps his cool the whole time, or else his cover would have been blown at any time. I'd like to give one to Milo for what's it again? For just like, my brain's a little bit off right now. I'll just give it one for just going to the mat, just giving using his brain as a shield for Kite, so that any damage that he'd taken he would just take it, so that he's a tip top shape. And I'd like to give one to the lawyer for basically just sticking to his guns and just like finding every single piece of evidence he can find, so that he can if anything happens, he always has something to fall back in.
I didn't just find all the evidence. I made evidence.
Yeah, that's still finding evidence.
Cool. Yeah, I'll go. So to Heldren for doing a bunch of investigation this time. You questioned a lot of people. Some of them were people. Some of them were mind creatures or whatever it is you're doing. I have no capability of assisting you in that, but if you ever need someone to just basically say you're a good boy and doing a good job as an assistance dice, I guess I can help out with the psychic stuff. To Draven for your my faith was well placed in you as being an excellent burglar. You did a great burgling today. And then to Tice for negotiating cheap passage. That's pretty good. I hadn't expected us to get cheap passage to the Imperial City. So yeah, that's a good reward to try and get forward. Going forward. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So first, to Tice, I feel like you're continuing this proud tradition we have of almost all the party just kind of dicks around on side quests while one person's like, you know what, I'm gonna actually move the main plot forward today. And that's some variation of that has happened a few times the time we've been role playing together, and today you were that person. And we need that person. So thank you. And then to Nergui for using creative anecdotes to explain semi-complicated principles around legality and leverage to a pretty much brain dead thug.
He's my brain dead thug.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the weapon. You just point him and fire him. And then to Troy specifically for so when Ed just says he's speaking off into the darkness for you to hear, and you're like, yeah, I left an hour ago.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Hildren for doing all the people conversations. I didn't want to do any of them, and I just motioned that you could do them, and you picked up on it. But it's totally something between the two of us. You would do the talking to people, and I would not. Masashi for going with, you cooked food this time, right? You made like a steak or something. So your diversification thing. I was really looking forward to steak tea. I thought that was going to happen, but it food is good too, and you're using it to get us benefits every single time. So That's awesome. And then Nagui for what was the guy's name? Moon something.
Moon in the Rain.
Moon in the Rain.
Yeah, you guys have not actually met him yet, but you've heard a lot about him.
Yeah. You were is that not who you were talking to? Who he was talking to?
He talked to Snow on the Branches.
That's right.
Who's the sort of mercenary guy. He talked to the prosecutor. Yeah.
Okay. Snow on the Branches. Who is Snow on the Branches? That was the...
He's the head of the sort of rebel group that's trying to free slaves out here.
Oh, that's right. That's who that guy is. Okay. Yeah. It was interesting you speaking about, like, basically manipulating whoever you were talking to and making sure that you were actually, like, you didn't care what information you were actually giving as long as you were giving the information that led to what you wanted. And so you were just tweaking little things here and there. But it didn't matter because eventually they were going to do what you wanted them to do. And all you care about is the result, which is fantastic. I thought for sure your thing for me was going to be that you met my character this time. So that threw me off. But I guess the fact that I did burgling was pretty good too.
Is that everyone?
Yep.
All right then. Thank you, gentlemen. I'll make sure these get uploaded by Thursday, and yeah, in case anyone wants to review, and then, barring any craziness, I believe we'll meet again next week and continue.
Right on. Cool. I might be a little late next week, but not like super. I'm flying back that day. I don't know what time I will be back in sorts.
Okay.
But I will be here Tuesday night.
Yeah, I mean we started a little late tonight too. It doesn't matter. Yeah, a little bit late is fine.
I'll keep you guys updated if it's gonna get pushed or anything.
If it looks like you're not gonna make it at all, just let us know, and then we'll go play Monster Hunter or something.
Cool.
All right.
All the best.
Stop
in
in
right now, anyways.
Have a great night.
You too.